Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So in this video, I'm comparing the foreigner experience in Seoul versus the countryside of Korea. And if you're currently studying English, I highly recommend you join my channel membership. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now. As many of you might know, I actually used to live in Chungju, a really small city which was close to a lot of nature, and you could consider it to be like the countryside. I lived there for 1 year. So in this video, I collaborated with Leah Moro, who is also a foreigner living in Jeollado and does amazing tour guide videos.
여러분 안녕하세요. Hi everyone, my name is Leah Moro. I'm living in Suncheon. It's a small city located in Jeollabuk-do province in the south part of Korea. I'm actually a 공무원, which is a civil servant here in Korea, and I'm in charge of the tourism promotion, and I work as a tour guide. So I'm really happy to be part of this video. Let's go!
So one thing that I love about living in Seoul is it's so dang convenient. You've got kickboards, bikes you can rent, buses, taxis, the subway. You've got convenience stores, all types of restaurants, PC bangs. You're seriously never bored if you're living in Seoul. I actually remember when I was living in Chungju, which was a really small city, I would pretty much go to Seoul every weekend to, meet people, go to meetups, go to language exchanges, go to different stores that I couldn't get to in Chungju. Seoul really is like the center of modern Korea, and all the new cutting-edge technology is here.
What I like about living in the countryside more than being in the city. Most people living in the city, they're busy, they're hustling, they're working hard and earning a lot of money, but it's pretty hard for you to meet people, just get a chit chat and just make new friends. While in the countryside, actually, it's pretty easy. I live in actually the gochujang traditional Hanok village, so I can see a lot of 할머니, 할아버지's and grandmother and grandmas, and it's really easy, to have a chat with them. They're really not in a hurry, and they're always happy to talk to foreigners because we don't have a lot of foreigners in Suncheon. So it's just really nice to talk to locals, and I actually realized that I have way more friends which are Korean than foreigners. And I've been living in Suncheon for almost 3 years now, but that's the connection with people. It's really different from what I could experience in being in a Korean city.
Living in Seoul is really good for younger people, maybe in their early to mid 20s, but I could definitely see how once you get into your late 20s, 30s, 40s, and you're starting a family, you might want to go somewhere more quiet and more relaxed. And so if I had to say one thing that I don't like about living in Seoul is that there's always so much noise. All the time you're hearing these, delivery bikes go by. And especially if you're trying to sleep or relax, or you're in a cafe, or you're trying to film something, it's really not the best.
So I will be honest, being in the countryside, sometimes the transportation is not an option. Basically, you need to have a car or you need to have your scooter because it's really hard to find a good transportation system. Korea is getting better at it, but it's still a big issue for me. Sometimes there is only 2 or 3 buses a day. For example, for me from Suncheon to go to Seoul, I only have 4 buses a day, and the last bus is at 3:30 p.m. So if I finish work at 6 p.m. then it's impossible for me to go to Seoul in the evening. So I just have my scooter and I like it a lot, but that's something that is a little bit tricky, especially if you want to move to other cities. Another thing is personally I miss actually living in the countryside. You sometimes don't have a lot of museum, you don't have a lot of events, or it can be difficult to go to the cinema or just hang out and have some concerts. So in that matter, I really prefer the living in the city because you have way more cultural events and fashion events, and I love to travel, so I love travel meetings and stuff, and it's pretty hard to find it in the countryside.
I think one misconception about Seoul and living in a big city like Seoul is that there's not a lot of nature and that there's just a ton of buildings and restaurants and houses and just development. But as you can see, I'm currently in Yeonteul Park, which is kind of like Central Park, but in Yeonnam-dong. And there's a really nice park here that I walk in all the time. There's also a ton of mountains in Seoul, like Bukhansan and Namsan and Achasan. So for someone like me who needs to be around nature, Seoul is actually a lot better than most people would think. Of course, it might be hard to compare to living in the countryside where you're literally surrounded by nature all the time, but it's really not bad. Lots of people walk their dogs here, people go on picnics here. Of course, there's the Han River. So yeah, I think this is a popular misconception about living in Seoul that I want to dispel.
So actually many people, they will think, oh, what do you have to do in the countryside? Life must be so boring. Especially for me in Suncheon or in Gwangju city, not far from Suncheon. We have so many like museum, we have a lot of festivals. So you know, if you like the nature, if you like hiking, we have a lot of national park. It's more quiet, it's more calm, it's less stressful, and it's just really nice. But you also have friends, you also have restaurants and coffee shop. If you live in Jeolla province, you have a lot of like beach and like seaside coastline. So if you enjoy the nature and wildlife, you can go camping also. So I really like it. I never get bored here.
In terms of loneliness, I'm definitely not lonely here. I have tons of friends who live in Seoul. Seoul's population density is so high that there are just people living close, like in Itaewon, Gangnam, Hongdae area. There's always new friends to meet, Koreans and foreigners. So definitely not lonely, but I can say that I got lonely at many times when I was living in Chungju, especially since I didn't speak Korean. But I guess on the flip side, that loneliness forced me to practice Korean. But I can see how if you've only ever lived in Seoul, you might not be motivated to speak as much Korean or learn it. So that could definitely be a bad thing in the end.
Even if I live in the countryside, sometimes it's hard to meet and connect with people. And the thing is, I have like a different timetable than most people. You know, most people will work Monday to Friday and take the weekend off. I cannot do that because I'm a tour guide. So usually my days off are on Wednesday, Thursday, or on weekdays, and people are working during this time. So it's hard for me to meet my friends. It's hard for me because I cannot go to certain events. I cannot go to like the weddings or to parties because people go to meet on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday, and I work all the time on the weekend. Yes. So yeah, I do feel lonely, but I don't think it's because I live in the countryside. I think it's more about my schedule and my work life, which doesn't really allow me to be having the same days off than most people.
In terms of air quality, Seoul doesn't really have the best air quality. I'm sure living in the countryside has much better air quality than Seoul, although I would guess though that just Korea in general suffers a lot from its neighbors, including China, and also factories within the country and pollution, the population density. It's all not really helping the air quality. It's kind of something you have to get used to while living here.
Well, for me, I actually love the fresh air. Like here we don't have like micro dust issues. Actually, Suncheon has a really nice air quality. So you know, when I go to the city, usually it's really hard for me to breathe. And if I go to Seoul, as soon as I get off the bus, I can feel it. And it's like really terrible smell actually for me. So especially the smell in the countryside is awesome. You know, you can take a big breath and you're like, oh yeah, this feels so good.
So in my opinion, in terms of what represents Korea more between Seoul and the countryside, I think Seoul represents modern Korea, but I don't think it represents traditional Korea as well as somewhere like Jeonju or Chungcheongdo. If I were to take a family member on a tour of Korea, how many days in Seoul versus other parts of Korea would I spend with them? And I guess if they were here for 1 week, I would spend 3 days in Seoul, maybe 2 days in Jeju, and the rest of the time kind of going around the country, visiting small cities and small areas, maybe like mountains or nature, this kind of thing. I feel like this percentage of time spent would maybe give them a good idea of Korea.
I I personally think that the countrysides represent better Korea. The reason why is because Seoul is the big city, you know, it's the capital city, people are working and stuff, but if you want to discover the real side of Korea, then it starts by the countryside. Seoul and Korea in general has been made after the Korean War, and it's only 50-60 years old. But if you want to see the real essence of Korean culture, you have to go to the countryside. You have to meet the local farmers, visit the small villages, and understand where Koreans come from. Because this way you will realize how amazing they've been building the countries and how fast it was. But the older generation, people who were like my grandparents' age, they still live in, I would say, the old Korean style. And you know, you can see the like Korean traditional houses, people sleeping on the ondol. You can also experience the Jong culture, which you really care about each other. They will always ask you, did you eat and stuff, and they will also show you like the Korean traditional cooking and recipes. And I think this is part of Korea you can only see in the countryside.
So as I mentioned, I used to live in Chungju, and some of the things that I miss about living in a really small city like that is just this space you have and the quiet, the space you have to think and relax and decompress. If you're stressed about something, you can take a walk, and usually there's like one or two people in the street. There's very few cars compared to Seoul. Another thing is that there are a ton of chains here in Seoul. I know it's really convenient to always have like a Starbucks or a CU or a 7-Eleven or some other kind of chain like that you can go to for your needs, but I really like going to the countryside and going to like this old grandmother's like homemade doenjang jjigae kind of like restaurant. That's awesome. I know those places exist too in Seoul, but there's just like a cool vibe to going to that kind of place in the countryside. You know what I mean? Especially when you're traveling.
And last question is, what is the first thing you do when you go to Seoul or any other big city? I will say the food. Because even though I live in Korea, I love Korean food, and you know, I'm getting really used to it. I miss foreign food sometimes. I miss Italian restaurant, French restaurant, just a really great burger. And living in the countryside, in the gochujang village, I eat a lot of jjigae, so kimchi jjigae, doenjang jjigae, like you have like sundubu jjigae, all this jjigae, but I'm getting kind of tired of it sometimes. So every time I go to Gwangju, Jeonju or Seoul, I just go to an international restaurant where I can find some foreign food. And the second thing I do is meeting my friends, obviously, because I just love meeting people and I'm just always happy to meet them. So for me, two things: food and people. Yeah, that's what I do when I go to the big cities. If you guys want to discover more about the Jeolla province and Korean countryside, then you can follow my channel as well. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day, guys. Bye bye.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm Sean. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I will see you next time. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So a lot of people, my subscribers and friends included, have been asking me about my opinion on the Will Smith, Chris Rock incident that happened at the Oscars. Basically, for those who don't know, Chris Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, about her hair being short and that she looked like she was about to go in the army, similar to the character from G.I. Jane. After that, Will Smith went on the stage and slapped Chris Rock really hard, then got off stage, went back to his seat, and then the two shared some heated words. To give more context to the story, his wife is actually suffering from alopecia, which is a disease that causes your hair to fall out. So it wasn't really her choice to shave her head. It was actually the only thing she could really do in her situation. With that being said, we can kind of understand the mental space of Will Smith, and I think we've all been in the situation where we've been so emotionally just tired and stressed that if someone says something to you at the wrong time, the only thing you can think to do is like hit them or smack them or punch them or something. We all have that violence in us. I totally get that. I'm not saying Will Smith is crazy by any means. From my understanding too, Will Smith has also apologized to Chris Rock and the Oscars and the producers and everybody. I'm sure he's very embarrassed and regrets his actions. I've heard the Oscars are looking into pressing charges and fining Will Smith, which I kind of agree with. Here's the problem I have with what happened. It's very likely that Chris Rock didn't know that the woman he was making fun of, Will Smith's wife, had this disease. Before he made this joke about her hair, he probably assumed that she made this decision out of a style choice or something. So he could have never predicted that Will Smith would have gotten really offended. But even more than that, if you make fun of someone, even if you're really rude to them and you insult them with your words, the appropriate response for Will Smith would be to say something back to Chris Rock with his words, not his actions. I mean, Will Smith is a really funny and witty guy. I've seen on many websites that he has a very high IQ, and that's not surprising at all. I mean, he's a very accomplished actor, he's very influential, he created a really popular YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. This man knows how to grind and how to hustle and how to succeed in life. I guess that's why it's more disappointing for me too. You know, as an American, I grew up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm actually from Philadelphia, so everyone from Philly knows Will Smith, and we kind of like consider him to be like the representative, the most successful person from Philly, you know? So in that sense, he is a role model for young people and for my generation, and to see him solve a problem with violence was really disappointing, you know? Again, I'm not trying to bash Will Smith. I hope he doesn't get canceled. I don't want his career to get canceled, but what he did was definitely not the right decision. People that look up to him see what he did and think violence is how you respond to someone you don't like. That's not the kind of world I want to live in. Do you? Do you want to live in a world where you can hit someone because you disagree with them? If Will Smith had retorted, "Oh, G.I. Jane, you mean back when your career was relevant?" Like something like that, that would have been the best thing he could have done, you know? But in general, you can't be violent towards comedians. I think comedians are the last stage of free speech. And these aren't my words, these are actually the words of Jordan Peterson, who I look up to a lot and I think is a really smart person. If a comedian is not allowed to joke about something, then we have a serious problem with our free speech in our society. I guess the best thing that Will Smith could do would be to meet with Chris Rock and just apologize to him. Buy him a drink, buy him a coffee, buy him a dinner, shake his hand, say, "Listen, I'm really sorry. I hope we can, get past this." That would be the decent thing to do. But who knows? Both of them are really smart people. I'm sure they'll figure it out. A lot of people are actually speculating that this was a staged thing, that they were acting, that they had planned to do this, because actually less and less people over the years have been watching the Oscars. And because of this incident, I actually learned that the Oscars, had taken place recently. I had no idea that they were coming up. So, this is probably the best thing you could do for marketing and publicity. But in my personal opinion, the whole thing just seems really genuine, just the reaction of Chris Rock and the reaction of Will Smith. I just don't think that it was staged, especially because he apologized in such a, sincere way. Those are my thoughts on the situation. I think he should be fined. I think there should be some kind of small penalty, but I don't think his career should be canceled because I don't ever like when that happens. I don't think his life should be ruined because of this. And like I said, I understand where both of them are coming from, but at the end of the day, what Will Smith did was wrong. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Once again, I'm Sean. Let me know if you like these kind of reactions to things, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
안녕하세요 여러분. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. In this video, I went to Helen Dorn International in Dongtan, South Korea. Helen Dorn is a fantastic English academy for kindergarten and elementary school students. In this video, I showed the students some old technology. VHS tapes, floppy disks, these kinds of things. I had them guess what they thought each one of the old pieces of technology did. Needless to say, there were some very cute and entertaining responses. Also, I was blown away by the English ability of these students. Pretty much all of them are completely bilingual in Korean and English. Also, if you're currently studying English, I highly recommend you join my channel membership. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Ella.
Ella.
My name's Gillian. My name is Claire.
Claire.
My name is Anthony. I'm Jaden. And I'm Rohan. My name's Adela. My name is Shinu.
So we're gonna play a game now.
Oh, I love it.
Nice. You like games? You don't like games, right?
No, I like it.
I think you don't like games.
No, I like it.
We're gonna play a game. I'm gonna show you old technology.
like old phone, like flip phone.
Stuff like that. And some of them are gonna be easy and some of them are hard. If you know what it is, tell me. If you don't, guess what it is.
Oh, okay, that will be so fun.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Start easy. What do you think this is?
Telephone. A telephone, yeah. Telephone.
That's easy, right?
Yes, that was very. Oh, that's a telephone.
Telephone?
Telephone.
Yeah. Oh, so you know what this is?
Yes.
You've seen it before
In like movie.
in the movies.
I never saw this. I just saw it in like old dramas.
I saw one in a museum, and we had one in our grandma's house that I actually used once to call my friend, but it was really hard.
Next picture, ready?
Okay. An iPad.
It's not an iPad,
What? A tablet.
not a tablet,
A laptop.
not a laptop. I'll give you a hint.
Yes.
You put it in the computer.
Battery.
Not a battery, good guess.
An old laptop.
Not a laptop. This is called a floppy disk.
Floppy disk.
Floppy disk. So with older computers, you would
Yeah.
put this in the computer and you would save your files on the disk.
Oh.
You would take the disk out and you put it in another computer and then that computer could see the files. So this was like an old memory card.
This is called a floppy disk, right?
Floppy disk.
Yes, but it it's. I think it's going to be very hard. But why is it floppy?
That's a great question. I didn't make the name, but I love that question. Next one. What is this?
I don't remember this. I don't remember this.
I know this, but I don't know this. But I know this.
You don't remember that.
Have you seen that before?
Kind of old smartphone.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was a computer.
No, it's called a BlackBerry.
Blackberry.
That's just the name of the company. BlackBerry.
Blackberry.
Yeah.
The thing we eat.
Oh, I have the telephone at home. Telephone like 10 years ago, like 30 years ago.
Yeah, nobody uses it now.
Like people who live in the mountains who don't even call people. They just go down and say, "Can you come to my house?" or send a postcard.
Those kind of people use Blackberries.
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
Wait a minute. What's that?
It's for music.
Ah.
You know what this is?
DVD.
It's not a DVD. It's for music.
Is it like CD?
It's a tape. So it's called a cassette.
tape.
What do you think that is?
Radio.
It's not a radio.
The can bottle thing that you put coins in and then turn it and then cans come out.
It looks like music,
CD
right?
television.
Not a television.
CD player.
No. Not a CD player.
Normal BSA 60.
So you would record something on this tape and you would put it into a tape player and you would listen to it.
Oh, I heard cassette, but I didn't know what it means.
Oh yeah, it's a tape. This is what we used before CDs.
Oh.
You understand?
Yes, I understand.
What do you think this one is?
Radio.
Not a radio.
CD player.
Nope. Do you want a hint?
Yes.
This is for movies.
Movie player.
Not a movie player.
Now that's a radio.
Not a radio.
What?
It's called a VHS tape. And we used to watch movies with this.
Oh, wow. VHS.
For this, all you need is just a TV. And you put it in a VHS player and you connect it to your TV. And this is how we used to watch movies.
Without color.
With color.
With color.
With color. Well, I'm not that old. This isn't that.
I think maybe that would be very expensive.
Yeah, I guess like Manwan.
Oh.
$10, something like that, I guess.
Like you could put it in.
Exactly. Yes,
so
that's
if
what
you
it is.
Put it in. You could see the movie. Then.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you seen that in like a movie? People using this?
No.
So if you want to watch like 5 movies, you need 5 of these.
Wow.
This is what we used to use a long time ago.
Oh.
In the 90s, like 30 years ago.
Oh, the typewriter. Laptop.
Typewriter.
Yeah, I saw it in the museum.
Yeah.
The laptop.
Kind of similar.
It's the thing that it was a laptop. You write on it and then you send it and then it goes to the person you send it in. And there is a paper, so if we just type it, then the paper will write something.
Exactly. It's a typewriter. So you would just type the keyboard and it would go and like a stamp. It would put words on a paper and then you would take the paper out and then that was your paper. This one's really old.
Really old?
Really old.
Remember this looking in a movie.
More than 30 years
in a
old.
movie.
Yeah, right. How about this one? You know what it is?
Game
program. Like.
Nintendo Switch.
This is the first Nintendo.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Very cool.
Yeah, interesting, right? You know Mario, right?
Yeah, Super Mario.
Yeah. It's the first Mario game you could play on this one.
I like Sonic too.
Sonic is good too. That's Sega though.
Oh.
Sega is a different company.
Game.
Do you know which game that is? Don't read it. No cheating. But now you're gonna read it. Yeah.
I thought it was a Nintendo. How are you supposed to watch the screen when it's like this?
Because you plug it into your TV.
Oh, we have to plug it in.
Yes.
Oh, that's why it's a little hard.
Okay. So that's it. What did you think of this game? Did you like it?
Yes, it was fun.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years people will look at this, the kids, and they'll be like, what was this? Because they have a different phone, right?
Yeah, different technologies.
Exactly.
It looks like some retro things.
Yeah, it is retro, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I never saw it.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
I want to see it in real life.
Yeah, right, that'd be cool.
I want
Yeah.
to write with the thing that.
Typewriter.
Yeah,
I want to
typewriter.
try the Mario thing.
The first Mario, yeah, that's a good
That
one.
would be so fun.
So what did you think about this? Did you like this game?
Yes.
It's really interesting, right?
Yes, I think this will help us.
Yeah, learn some old technology,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It was pretty fun.
Interesting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned about 6 new things.
That's right. Well,
We learn about
high five.
old thing when we use.
Exactly. You learn about history a little bit and about how technology is changing. All right, guys. High five. All right, let's say bye. 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 Bye.
Bye!
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. It's no secret that South Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. These days though, many other countries in the world are also suffering from very low birth rates. So why is this happening? Of course, there's a huge economic reason to this. These days, living in big cities is extremely expensive and people are just delaying marriage and having kids as long as they can. Me personally, I'm almost 32 years old and I don't have kids. So in this video, we asked several people from around the world what they think of the declining birth rate in Korea and the declining birth rate in many developed countries all around the world. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hi, how's it going? Where are you from?
It's going great. I'm from Switzerland.
Denmark.
From Denmark.
Paris, France.
France as well.
Hi, I'm from Spain.
Ireland.
Ireland.
France.
Cool. So Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the entire world, somewhere around like 0.8. Why do you think that is? Why are people not having as many kids these days, in your opinion?
I didn't know that. I think it's South Korea is doing also quite well financially, and I think that leads to a lower birth rate.
Why does that lead to a low birth rate?
I think once people get comfortable with their economic situation, they maybe delay having children.
Probably has to do with like welfare providence from the government. There might not be much when it comes to like paying for your children's education and kindergarten and so on. It has to do with finding a proper housing and money for being able to house yourself, and it's something that the government would be able to handle with providing a bigger welfare scheme for its
more
citizens.
support.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a common thing in a lot of countries. In France too, we observe that the birth rate is pretty low.
It could also be age-wise, I guess, because of the many years in university, for some also years in the military. I mean, at what age can you actually have children? I guess that's also part of it.
I think because women are working more and they're trying to focus more on their careers now.
Maybe because of money things, money problems, or many people want to have kids when they have their own house, and it's quite expensive here.
And even though being a stay-at-home mom is a valid occupation, it's being less common in the recent years.
Do you think people think being a stay-at-home mom is a bad thing to be?
Maybe people think that they don't work, that they need their husbands and everything, but I think it's not true.
You think this is a bad stereotype?
Yeah, this is a really bad stereotype.
I think it's more because of feminism. Because now we're like, oh no, you're a woman, you shouldn't stay at home, you shouldn't be a mom, you shouldn't like pink, or you shouldn't like makeup, or whatever the reasons. And so because of feminism, they're trying to have more power and like to themselves, but choosing to be a stay-at-home mom is their power, it's their choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Having a child is the hardest work, I think, really.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
I don't know. It's bizarre to us. Like noticing everyone around here. There's a lot more couples than where we're from in Ireland. Like there's a lot of tandem going on. There's not many young couples in Ireland. Of course there is, but not as popular as it is here.
It might be a financial stability type of thing. So like they don't want to have kids and then have the financial burden of then having no money when having to pay really high rent as well and high cost of living and everything.
And a kid is a lot of responsibility, so you need to trust the person who you are with, I think.
Is it the same in Switzerland?
It is similar in Switzerland, where the middle class as well has lower birth rates.
What's Denmark like?
I guess it's pretty normal to have children in Denmark.
Slowly rising, but not a lot.
How's the birth rate in Spain?
It's getting like lower every year.
What's France like?
I know that in Paris,
really expensive.
It's really expensive, so it can be hard to have like more than 2 children.
But a lot of people are just going in countryside because it's less expensive to have a big house. So
maybe that's the main reason, because like, you know, in France there is like only one main city, or maybe 2 or 3.
Paris, Versailles?
Paris, Lyon and Marseille maybe.
Yeah.
But you know, the major part of Korean live in cities.
Okay,
the major part of French are living in the countryside.
Yeah.
But it's not the same in Korea.
So French population is more dispersed.
Yeah, spread
out.
in the whole territory.
You have a lot of brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
I'm the youngest of 5.
Yep, I'm the youngest of 6.
Oh! See, that is so interesting. The older generation had much bigger families. How old were your parents when they had their first kid?
I think my mom was like, when she had my big sister, she was like 23 or something like this.
Wow.
This is young.
And?
My mom was 20.
My mom was 25.
Wow.
Yeah, she was young.
And mine was in the mid-30s.
I think 30, but I also
that's pretty
have
late.
a big brother. Like we are like 4 years apart, so they were like 26
When they had their first kid.
32.
My mother was 28, I think.
I'm the firstborn and my mom was 22.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I was firstborn and my mother was 29.
okay, my mom was like 25, 26. Elon Musk recently said that we're going to have a massive problem in the next few decades all around the world in many developed countries because of population. People are having less and less kids, and he said that for South Korea, if the current birth rate remains unchanged, South Korea will be around 6% of its current population in 3 generations. What are the pros and cons of a world where we have much fewer people?
I think like Korea has so many people here. Like it's a small country with a lot of people living here. So maybe it would be a little bit more like comfortable living here.
You think there's some positives?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a very good thing for the environment in general.
For the climate change, I guess.
Yeah. It would make it so much more easier to pollute for everyone.
Yeah. I think that's also a thought in I think in a lot of young Danish people's mind right now about having children. It's like, should we bring them into this world?
Positives you're saying are that they're good for the environment, less people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More room for everyone.
More room for everybody.
More room to
you don't
pollute.
have to build tall buildings.
Yeah.
What are the negatives?
You will have more older people that like younger generations.
Right, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So
and
we have to take care of this huge group of older people.
Yeah, and with the medicine right now, maybe people will be able to live until like 90 in a few years.
This is a really good point.
If you don't have like younger people
to run the systems and to take care of them.
What about the system like 10 years later?
That's a huge negative of low birth rate is we're going to have a massive amount of older people that we have to take care of, but there's going to be like much fewer people to take care of them. High taxes. Yeah. We need to make some robots, I think. No?
I'm not a fan of robots.
You don't like robots? Why not?
Maybe robots will get our jobs.
I always thought the idea that this is not about how much people are on the earth, but how good the goods are shared around the world. So I don't think that having fewer people is really good. I think like we have just to share what we have in developed country and in country that are poor. So yeah, I think this is my opinion on that.
Well, I mean, population is a big issue, I think, also in the future, because there is only limited space. So the birth rate slowing down, I think, is actually not all bad, because there's a shortage in space, in food as well.
Yeah. So, real estate too, right?
Real estate as well, land. There's just not enough for a steady growing population. So a declining birth rate is actually, at first sight, it is a good thing. But then you're gonna have other problems. I think what you said about Elon Musk.
Thanos would be happy.
Thanos would be happy, yeah. I mean, at least he had a solution. If it was a good one, that's another thing.
I feel like the human is greedy. So even if we're less, there's still gonna be a lot of pollution. We're always gonna find ways to pollute more because we want more. And I don't think being more humans or less humans is gonna change much.
When do you think you'd be ready in your guys' life to have a kid, in the future?
For me, I wanted a lot of freedom and adventure.
Before you start that?
Before I start that chapter of my life, I guess.
Right.
Because when I look at all my friends that have children, it's a new chapter and it's a lot less freedom in the beginning.
One book closes.
Yeah.
And then a book opens.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm like 30
Exactly.
Yeah, probably 10 more years easily.
I think I need to have more money to support like a family.
I think maybe like stable job.
I don't think you'll ever be completely ready to have
Good answer.
kids. But I would say right now I still I'm currently traveling the world. I want to see stuff, and whenever I feel like it, I'm just gonna be ready, and then if it happens, it happens.
But for me, someone I love together with and someone I want to hang around with.
Check.
And I think we're there so far. And then of course you also need to be economic independent. But that's much more easy in Denmark than I guess it is here in South Korea, because housing costs are lower. There's a bigger welfare government scheme that can support you no matter if you get sick or if you can't work, or if you need to take a new education at some point. There's a scheme for that. And I think that makes a big difference, that you can be confident that you can have your children and you can support them and provide them and for your family.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. 안녕하세요, 여러분. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. I'm here with my friend George.
Hello, I'm from the UK, and I also have a YouTube channel. It's called 영국 욕쟁이. I teach British English on that channel. If you're interested in that, you should check me out.
Cool. So today we're talking about culture shock and things we didn't expect when we moved to Asia. In my case, Korea. In your case,
Japan.
Now, you've actually lived in Korea much longer than you've been in Japan, right?
That's correct, yeah, that's true. So I've been in Korea for a total of 6 years, and Japan, I would say 7 months.
So you've definitely spent more time in Korea, but I think you can talk about your experience in Japan, right?
Of course, yeah.
And I've been to Japan, I guess 2 times now. I've been to Tokyo and Osaka, and I've studied a lot of Japanese. I'm pretty familiar with Japanese culture, but of course, I'm way more familiar with Korean culture, and I speak Korean. Same with you, right?
Yeah.
Your Korean's better, yeah. But still, this will be an interesting conversation. Let's get it started. You're representing Japan, I'm representing Korea. We can talk about each other's experience too, because we've both been to both countries.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting.
Let's begin.
Let's go.
So one thing that really shocked me when I first got here was when you see like a crowd in Korea of Korean people and someone does something impressive. The sound you'll hear is, oh. I was really shocked at first. I was like, wow, do they all practice? Like, the timing is perfect. Everybody is just in sync.
It's in perfect harmony, right?
Yes. Oh.
I enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
I still enjoy it.
Yeah, right.
50년 7개월.
For me, in America, we would just say, woohoo, or wow, or like, they would clap you like, and they'd be like, wow, yeah, that's amazing, you're amazing.
Yeah, maybe it would just be like, whoa, I don't know, whoa, in the stadium.
Right, it's W-O-A-H, whoa, yeah. Wow.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
I did definitely enjoy that when I first taught in Japan.
Yeah,
from a lot of the students. Not that I'm particularly impressive. I'm sure there was something impressive going on in the classroom at
in
the
the
time.
background.
Yeah. Maybe someone was juggling. I don't know.
Yeah. So another quick one that I just want to rattle off. Something I was shocked. I didn't expect this. Whenever you go to like a club or some kind of party or festival, you see many Korean people dancing. That neck thing. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah. It's been a while since I've been to a club, but yeah, I do remember. Now that you've said it, it's sort of jogged my memory. And I guess it's sort of contagious as well, because I feel like
I started copying it.
Do you dance in a particular way in a club?
I don't know. I just follow the beat. I like to dance, but I guess I move my feet a lot.
Yeah.
And I would say a lot of Americans would do that in like a club. They would more move their feet, you know, instead of like the thingy.
I like to do this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Disco. All right.
So something that shocked me in Japan was the size of the apartments.
Oh yeah?
They're tiny, minuscule. So the thing that got to me was the size of the kitchen. So you had the sink, and then directly next to the sink was the stove. So there wasn't really any area for you to prepare food. So that was kind of tricky. And there wasn't really any space to put my stuff. You had to really think carefully about where you put things, and it definitely made me cut back on the things I bought, because I was thinking, okay, I probably shouldn't buy that because it's just going to clutter up my place.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of minimalism in Japan. Could that be?
Probably, yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Because then you probably won't have anywhere to sleep.
Yeah. I see a lot of like, videos of Japanese people like sleeping under their computer desk.
Yeah.
And then waking up and working and then sleeping under. I was kind of shocked how different Seoul was from the rest of Korea.
Yeah.
When I first got here. And I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying Seoul has everything. Everything you could ever want is here. Any kind of foreign food, any kind of entertainment. But then I used to actually live in like Chungju. I remember when I was with a group of foreigner friends, we were really excited when a new hamburger place popped up.
Yeah.
But you know, here in Seoul, there's all that. So like the contrast between the two, the countryside is very simple, I think is a good word. They only have like the things that they need. People work, they go to school, and they, buy groceries and cook. Whereas here in Seoul, it's like you could have this type of hamburger, that type of hamburger, this type of pizza, that type of new crazy ice cream, this type of experience, and it's so different. I think if like Korea is an orange,
yeah,
Seoul is an orange latte. You know, it's like a brand new thing with like a flavor of Korea.
I like.
You like that? All right.
That was a very creative way of expressing that.
I impressed George. All right.
We are currently in the orange latte.
We're in the orange latte, and I'm loving it. I like orange lattes.
Yeah, I agree. But generally, I prefer like living outside of Seoul because it just feels more authentically like Korean. So,
Sometimes I miss it, man. Sometimes I miss walking around Chungju, these big streets with one car going by sometimes, and it's just quiet.
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like I'm always busy in Seoul. You know, my time just goes by like
I live directly next to a main road, so I constantly hear traffic.
In Seoul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really bugs me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the delivery drivers.
Yeah.
Nights out. When you go for a night out in Korea, it doesn't matter if you don't have a place to stay because there's jinjilbangs, there's motels. It's really easy because it's so cheap.
Taxis are cheap too.
Taxis are cheap, yeah, as well. So if you live like an hour away or half an hour away, you can always get a taxi and go home. Whereas when I lived in Tokyo, I would always have to make sure that I get the metro just before midnight. Because otherwise I'll have to stay out until like 5 in the morning, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was really, really late and there'll be nowhere to sleep. So I did that a few times and I really regretted my life choices. I mean, that's the great thing about living in Korea is taxis are so cheap.
They really are.
Compared to the UK as well. Like, I would never think about getting a taxi in London. It would be the same as Tokyo, which is so expensive.
Yeah.
Whereas in Seoul, it's just an easy option. I mean, yeah. So there are these places in Japan called manga cafes, and you can get a place to sleep, and it's just like this. It's like a little cubicle, and you have a computer and just a little floor to sleep on. But in Tokyo, there are so many people trying to grab one of those cubicles that you have to wait hours in order to actually secure one and actually sleep in one. So one night I tried to go into one and I ended up just like sleeping in the lobby of this manga cafe waiting to get this cubicle for
that works.
Hours. Yeah, I was just like sleeping like this. It was
doesn't sound comfortable.
No.
So the last one I want to talk about, just something I was a little disappointed about. It's not a huge deal, so don't go crazy in the comments, but I remember when I first got here, you smiled.
I'm just curious now what this will be.
Everybody's curious. When I was on the subway, I just got to Korea, and there was this kind of crazy guy, I think he was part of a weird religion or group. He kept bothering this one girl. He was like kind of judging her, like, you are unholy, like you need to join, you're not living a holy life. And this guy was clearly crazy and he was bothering her. She seemed to be really annoyed and uncomfortable, and everybody kind of just on the seats just was looking at them, and I was like, why is no one helping this person, you know? I don't think she was in any like physical danger. I'm sure if like he had a knife or seemed like he was going to hurt her, I'm sure many people would have helped.
Sure.
But she was visibly uncomfortable, and I guess as an American, like I was like, why is no one telling this guy to get away from her? Like, what's going on? And I was like kind of disappointed. Like, I wish someone would say, leave her alone, you know? And I've kind of seen that a lot here. Like, if it's not someone you know, then it's not your business, you know? And I don't know, I guess I wish more people were like helping others who seem like they needed help, or I kind of get that feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think
are people gonna kill me in the comment section for talking about this? Like,
oh, who knows?
I still like Korea, all right? Relax, guys.
Yeah. But I think maybe the UK is maybe in between the US and Korea in its approach to those kinds of situations. Because, yeah, I wouldn't really expect someone in the UK to sort of intervene in that situation. Like in the UK, maybe one person might have intervened.
Yeah, okay.
Possibly.
So it's kind of more similar to Korea.
Yeah, one or two people might have intervened. Whereas I think in America they're a bit more vocal about expressing themselves in public. I definitely noticed that when I went to the States. In Japan, I imagine it would be probably worse than Korea.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody intervening in that.
Because you just don't talk to strangers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I guess in UK you don't really talk to strangers as much. I think in France you really don't talk to strangers. Japan and Korea you don't talk to strangers. America, we're all about small talk.
Yeah.
Hey man, what's going on?
Yeah.
How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, if someone came up to me like that and I didn't know them, I would be very uncomfortable.
Sure. I guess I was the weird one.
That was a twist.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, it's a good thing to intervene when someone is, I don't know, being attacked or
uncomfortable
or uncomfortable because of somebody else. One thing I noticed about Japan is that the Japanese always speak Japanese to you, no matter if you're foreign or whatever. So when I went to a convenience store, they would always speak to me in Japanese. Whereas in Korea, I've noticed that if I go to the convenience store, they'll probably just like point.
Yeah.
So earlier today, I went to the supermarket and I bought something, and it's just like, it's just a very silent communication. Whereas in Japan, it didn't matter if I didn't understand or if I didn't reply, they would always just speak to me in Japanese.
That's really interesting because I think that's not a weird thing.
No,
it's not weird.
Not at all.
What I mean is, if you go to the US, they're gonna speak to you in English.
Yeah.
If you go to UK, they're gonna say, how many people do you want for the restaurant? They're gonna say it in English.
Yeah. And there seems to be less of an assumption in Korea that foreigners can speak some Korean.
True.
No matter how long they've lived in Korea. Whereas in Japan, maybe there's more of an assumption that foreigners should have learnt Japanese if they've lived there. In Korea, I noticed that even if they don't speak that much English, they tried a bit more. Whereas in Japan, even if they spoke pretty good English, maybe they'd feel a bit shyer about sort of using it. And maybe after a few drinks, they might start speaking English.
100%.
more. Yeah.
So these were just some things that we could think of when we thought about culture shock.
Yeah.
Things we didn't expect when moving to Korea and moving to Japan. Yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. What'd you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And once again, I'm Sean.
And I'm George.
Also, if you're currently studying English, I highly recommend you join my channel membership. Okay, see ya!
Bye-bye!
안녕하세요 여러분. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. In this video, I will go over the difference between trust and believe. And before I begin this video, if you're currently studying English, I highly recommend you check out my channel membership. People seem to really be enjoying it. So trust and believe are kind of similar, and in Korean you can say 믿다 for both of them. 나는 널 못 믿겠어. 저는 어제 얘기한 거 안 믿어. So trust is used when we want to talk about how much we can rely upon the actions of another person or thing. More than the words or stories of other people, trust is how much you can rely on someone else to make the right decision or to do the right action. Hey, can I borrow your car? I don't know. The last time you borrowed my car, you got into an accident, remember? I'll be more careful this time, trust me. So the person who wants to borrow the car is asking the other person to trust in the fact that he will make the right decision. Trust me, I won't get into an accident. Let's look at another example. We've been waiting for a taxi for 2 hours. What should we do? That guy over there said he would drive us to our hotel for $10. I'll drive you to your hotel. Should we do it? I don't trust him. He looks really weird. Yeah, I agree, but what choice do we have? In this case, he's saying he doesn't want to rely on the taxi driver. He doesn't think he'll make good decisions. Maybe he thinks the taxi driver will try to rob him or take him to the wrong neighborhood in order to get more taxi fare. Let's listen to the examples one more time for some more practice. Hey, can I borrow your car? I don't know. The last time you borrowed my car, you got into an accident, remember? I'll be more careful this time, trust me. We've been waiting for a taxi for 2 hours. What should we do? That guy over there said he would drive us to our hotel for $10. I'll drive you to your hotel. Should we do it? I don't trust him. He looks really weird. Yeah, I agree, but what choice do we have? Let's look now at believe. We use the verb believe when we're listening to what someone's saying or when we're judging something that we've heard. You can think of believe as a judgment of true or false. If you believe what someone is saying, you think it's true. If you don't believe it, you think it's false. I saw a ghost in my house. It was very tall and it had red eyes. I told my family, but they don't believe me. I believe you. So in this case, the second guy thinks what the first guy is saying is true. He believes him. Here's another example. Did you hear? John started dating a supermodel and got a job at Tesla working with Elon Musk. No way. I'll believe it when I see it. So this is a really common phrase. I'll believe it when I see it. This means that something is so difficult to believe, it's so ridiculous that you need to see it in order to confirm whether it's true or not. I'll believe it when I see it. So in summary, believe is about words or things we've heard, and trust is about actions of another person, if you can rely upon them or not. Let's listen again for some more practice. I saw a ghost in my house. It was very tall and it had red eyes. I told my family, but they don't believe me. I believe you. Did you hear? John started dating a supermodel and got a job at Tesla working with Elon Musk. No way. I'll believe it when I see it. Another phrase that I want to teach you is to believe in someone or to believe in something. If you believe in someone or something, you have faith that it's real. Here are some examples. I believe in God. I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in ghosts. I don't believe in monsters. You can also say to believe in someone or something when talking about how much value you think someone or something has. It's basically like saying, I have faith in you, or I have faith in this thing. I think that it is a good thing. Here are some examples. I believe in you. I believe in your vision. I believe in the power of positive thinking. I don't believe in myself. So believe in is usually followed by a subjective statement. Because not everybody will agree with what you're saying, we use the phrase, I believe in you, or I believe in Santa Claus. It would sound kind of funny if you said something like, I believe the sun is hot. That's because this is a well-known fact that pretty much everyone agrees on. You don't have to say, I believe in. You can just say, the sun is hot. So the last thing I want to go over are the nouns, trust and belief. Until now, we've been talking only about verbs. So the verb trust is spelled and pronounced exactly the same as the noun trust. Just like the verb, the noun trust is the presence of a feeling of reliability, which obviously is a positive thing. Trust is the most important thing in a relationship. I couldn't agree more. You usually build trust over time, but you can also earn trust by doing something good for someone. Thank you for helping me kill those zombies. You've earned my trust. Anytime. Lastly, we have the noun belief. Similar to the verb believe, belief is the acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. A belief is also something that we hold in our minds, something that we believe about the world. I have this belief that any girl I try to talk to will just reject me. That belief is not helping you. You really need to change your beliefs. Some people have the belief that English is hard. Others have the belief that English is easy. They believe it's easy. So you can use the noun and the verb to talk about the things that you believe about the world. Beliefs are usually created naturally through your experience in the world. But you can also create new beliefs or change existing ones by repeating the new belief to yourself many times. Hey John, how's it going? You look great. Thanks a lot. You too, Ben. Last time I saw you, you had terrible social anxiety. How did you get over it? I worked really hard to change my beliefs about people. I used to think meeting people was scary. Now I see it as a fun challenge. That's great to hear. Let's listen to the examples one more time for some more practice. Trust is the most important thing in a relationship. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for helping me kill those zombies. You've earned my trust. Anytime. I have this belief that any girl I try to talk to will just reject me. That belief is not helping you. You really need to change your beliefs. Hey John, how's it going? You look great. Thanks a lot. You too, Ben. Last time I saw you, you had terrible social anxiety. How did you get over it? I worked really hard to change my beliefs about people. I used to think meeting people was scary. Now I see it as a fun challenge. That's great to hear. So that's it. Now I will show you a dialogue that incorporates all of the new terms and expressions that I just taught you in this video. Enjoy. Hey, I'm going to Dan's house party on the weekend. Are you coming? I don't know. My ex-girlfriend might be there, so maybe I shouldn't go. Don't worry about her. Just go and enjoy the party with me, and we can get some food afterwards. It'll be fun. Trust me. You're probably right, but if I see her talking to other guys, it will devastate me. We actually broke up because we had trust issues. I know how you feel. Believe me, I was in a similar situation with my ex-girlfriend last year. I really wanted to go to this concert, but I knew she would be there too. When I went, sure enough, I saw her, but I was having so much fun with my friends that it didn't even matter, and I had a great time. Anyway, you can do this. I believe in you. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. But I'm not cool like you. What if the girls there think I'm weird? Get that idea out of your head. You're a cool guy. You really need to change those bad beliefs you have about yourself. I'm a cool guy, that's right. And who knows, you might even meet a new girl. I'll believe it when I see her. I mean, you're right. Maybe I'll meet a nice girl. Alright everyone, that's all for this video. Did you enjoy it? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.